Careful Devices is a design-led research project that looks into self-tracing and in-home healthcare tech. Current designs are touted as tools to empower average users to make health decisions based on produced data, but the quality of such data cannot be guaranteed and are provided without much context. Because users don't have a medical gaze, as mentioned in the paper, or context, they often are uncomfortable with or unable to take expert and correct action. This careful device design approach reimagines how health data collection and tracking is perceived. I believe that this paper provides a more realistic perspective on how these devices should be used, given the disparity in expertise between medical professionals and the average user, as well as the lack of information on how users are supposed to use the produced data. It is one thing to make health data available to users, but future design should provide users with more information to help them understand the data and what actions to take. Instead of pushing for users to be their own doctors, this approach calls for designs that encourage reflection and awareness of one's health, and it is to be used in tandem with existing medical devices rather than replacing them.
The main manifesto for Careful Devices is essentially that they let patients interpret their health data for themselves and find new ways to have productive interactions with their doctors, all while keeping such tracking private. An example that falls under these points is Ovum, an ovulation tracking device using one's saliva. The user gives the device a sample, and the device displays the microscopic makeup of the saliva using light projection. This would be ideally done in a dim lit setting. Users and their partner are able to determine when is an ideal time within the privacy of their own home. Rather than having the device tell them that it's prime ovulation time, the users can determine that for themselves. While emphasizing the intimate nature and making the process seem more sexual than it is rather much in my opinion, although it is a smart way to help couples determine fertility.
The context of home health devices can strike a balance between medical knowledge and the lived experience of health. Design research produces human devices that support reflection about experience of the self and the body. The Vantage opens the frame of health to include more perspectives than would otherwise be taken into account, including those who have been excluded from medical trajectories, taking insights from knowledge that medicine is uncertain about, and providing a site for people to actively participate in the issue of their own care.
The Olivus Research Program accumulates data on an individual's health in order to create resource for researchers to conduct studies on health and disease. As a user, I think the website is well put together and highly informative. Not only does it provide information regarding precision medicine, but it also provides details as to how a user's information is protected. The information on the site is clearly explained, and it creates a sense of ethos within the user to create a better healthcare system for future generations. In general, I think the concept of precision medicine is a progressive idea that could potentially create better communication and understanding between doctor and patient. Because future care can be predicted and determined based off of more data, the results can be individualized to a more accurate degree. And while security is a high concern, as long as people are voluntarily providing information and also understand how their data is protected, I think that the security concern can decrease in importance because users can understand what's happening with their data. From personal experience, I believe that this kind of a tool can highly benefit people who can have a rare medical issue. Because a large amount of data is being processed, it can highlight general outliers. It can also allow physicians to consider outliers when a patient's symptoms line up with them in particular.
The All of Us program highlights that many observational cohort studies lack the proper size and diversity, and it aims to gather a diverse cohort of at least 1 million Americans to advance and accelerate biomedical research. Furthermore, the plan is to make the data collected broadly available to approved researchers to increase the scientific impact even more. So it's kind of like a big data register that can be used for the studies. A focus is to get more data on racial and ethnic minorities as well as people underrepresented in past studies. And while it doesn't focus on any particular disease, the project tries to make it possible to systematically study disease outcome, medication effect, etc. across a broad spectrum of social, economic, and genomic contexts, which could greatly improve our understanding of health and our possibilities for research. There are some obstacles with collecting and keeping this amount of data. First of all, security and anonymization has to be geared to protect the participant. And secondly, if the data is not obtained with a set goal in mind, which means it might not be sufficient for all studies. Even though this is the case, big data registers have been shown to be a huge asset to research in the past and will likely continue to be.